Mr. Derek Veenhoff.
He's better known as Deke.
Drinking liquor with DJ Deke, we out laughing.
Yo, Deke.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I'm here today with Scott Flansburg, the human calculator. Scott, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And yeah, I've been the human calculator for over 30 years now.
It's amazing. There's so much to ask you, and we've got a little bit of time today, but you're going to be happy that this is actually episode 99 of the show.
Great.
And, we did that just for you. We lined it up like that. So why don't you tell us a bit about your background, your and how you became the human calculator?
Yeah, I'm from Herkimer, New York, which is in upstate New York, near the beginning of the Adirondack Mountains. And just as a little boy, I was learning math, and I had to go up to the board and do a problem in front of the whole class. And I hadn't been paying attention. And so I think she was trying to make an example out of me, and I did it backwards. She wanted me to add up a column of numbers right to left, and I did it left to right because I thought I learned how to read left to right. So I did my numbers left to right. And she goes, well, where's your carry? And I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. What's a carry? And she goes, you got to put a 1 up here. And I said, no, I did it this way. And so from that point on, everything I would learn in math class, I would sit there and figure out an easier way to get the answer and look for patterns and things like that. And by 5th grade, I was doing numbers in my head as fast as a calculator.
And of course, you have actually Guinness World Record for mental calculation, the speed. So I don't know quickly, is there anything you could demonstrate for listeners? I know we don't have a board in front of us and we don't necessarily have a calculator, but is there anything you could demonstrate? Like, could I give you a number and you could add it up or something like that?
Yeah. So my Guinness World Record, which I've had since the year 2000, is fastest human calculator. And that's racing a calculator for 15 seconds and it's counting by a number. So on a iPhone or on a regular calculator, if you just do 5 plus 5 and you hit equals, it says 10. But if you hit equals again, it automatically adds 5 more. And if you keep hitting equals, it keeps counting by 5, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Well, I can do that with any number. And so the Guinness folks found the fastest accountant in the world using a 10-key calculator. So they picked 38. So she had to do 38 plus 38 plus 38 plus 38 plus 38 plus as fast as she could for 15 seconds. And I had to count out loud by 38 for 15 seconds. And at the end of those 15 seconds, she had 28 answers and I had 36. So that's my world record. So I can demonstrate that for you. So just for fun, you don't have to, you can check it later if you want. But if you pick a number, I'll start counting by it. And you'll see that I can just count as fast as I can talk. So if you pick 42, I'll just do 42 plus 42 plus 42. So people listening, if they want to check my answers, they can just punch in the number you say, plus the same number again, and then hit equals, 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 equals. All right. Yeah. So what do you want me to count by?
Let's do 23.
46, 69, 92, 115, 138, 161, 184, 207, 230, 253, 276, 299, 322, 345, 368, 3914, 144, 37, 460, 483, 506, 529, 552, 575, 598, 621, 644, 667, 690, 713. Like that. I can count as fast as I can talk. So
now they've done some studies on your brain and you say there's one part that's sort of enlarged or different than other people. Now, can you explain that? And can you explain like the subjective experience almost of when you're adding, like, how does it feel?
Yeah, that was done on Stan Lee's Superhumans. I was episode 1, season 1. That was a dream come true to be a part of that. And they took me to a neurobiological research center and they were checking my brain for me, doing mental calculations. And that's when I learned about Area 44. It's right here, left side of the brain by your temple. It's called the Broman area. And this is where movement and spatial math would happen. And so they said that my Area 44 is actually 4.5 times the normal size it should be. And so they think that, something happened or I figured out a way to train that muscle. They weren't sure. And so it was interesting. It didn't give me the full answer of maybe how or why I do what I do, because, obviously I have programs to teach people how to do this stuff. So it's not like it's just appearing from nowhere and I can't explain the process.
Right.
These are techniques and simple exercises that just make it as easy as possible and the most efficient way to get the answer when it comes to calculation.
Did that worry you at all when they said part of your brain is 4 times larger than it should be? Like, did they double check if it was anything, inappropriate there?
That's a great question. What's funny is I was walking down the streets in Los Angeles, and this was when I was 22 years old. So like over 30 years ago. And a guy walked up to me on the street, didn't know me from Adam, and said, "Hey, are you really good with mental math?" And I just started laughing like, yeah, I really wasn't known at that time, but it was sort of weird, right? The guy did a study called phrenology, which is a study of the bumps on the brain. Mm-hmm. And he said he could tell just by looking at me that this was just so huge. He goes, you got right here, man. This is like your calculator. And so I thought that was interesting. But, I think it's a combination. I have a gift for numbers, but I also have a passion for understanding numbers. So I think that's what allowed me to become the human calculator.
Can you tell us the significance of 0 to 9 versus 1 to 10 and how that plays into the math that you do?
You just made my day. It's so funny. I mean, I write ways to get the answer to incredibly complex math problems. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to the simplest thing, what you just pointed out. For some reason, humans are wired to think numbers are 1 through 10. The human body has 10 fingers, and we've all learned to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're just used to doing that. It's cool, but that's not how a calculator works. When you turn on a calculator, there's no 10. It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 10 digits, but there's no 10. It's 0 through 9. So I teach people to think like this: 10 fingers, 10 digits. It goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's really 0 through 9. And when you turn on a calculator, the only reason it works is because it starts at 0. If that calculator didn't start at 0, you wouldn't get the right answer to any problem you put in there. And so 0 is the power number, the power button that turns on the calculator in our mind.
Now, when you teach kids this, what is the initial approach, and what are some of the successes you've seen, or what are the challenges that you see?
Well, let's just go through one. Let's see how it goes, because the one that I want to share with you is called Chapter 0. Mm-hmm. I believe that if we count 0, it changes everything. And so, if you count 0, you end up at 9, 0 through 9. Those are the first 10 digits. The secret to numbers is every number higher than 9 has a pattern in it that makes it add down to 9. So if I asked you to write down the number 11, you would write 1, 1. The steps are this. You write down the number. Next step is add up all those digits. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Mm-hmm. Put that total underneath and then subtract. Well, 11 minus 2 is 9. 9. This works for every number from 10 to infinity. So try 10, 1, 0. 1 plus 0 is 1. 10, take away 1, is 9. So try the number 12, 1, 2. 1 plus 2 adds up to 3. 12, take away 3, equals 9. So you pick a number and I'll do it for you. A 2-digit number.
17.
1 plus 7 is 8. 17, take away 8, is 9. So try 19. 1 plus 9 is 10. 19 minus 10 is 9. Every number in the universe goes back to 9. Let's try 20. 2, 0. 2 plus 0 equals 2. 20 take away 2 equals 18. And that answer, 1, 8, 18, 1, 8, adds up to 9. So now I challenge you, next time you're driving down the road and you see a speed limit sign that says 55, give it a try. 5 and 5, 10. 55 minus 10 is 45. And that answer, 4, 5, adds up to 9. It's an exercise that will train our brains to understand arithmetic, adding, subtracting, not just memorizing our math facts. This is a pattern that makes every number come alive. So now next time you're out at a sporting event and you see a player's number like 73, you should be able to do this in your head. 7 plus 3 is 10. 73 minus 10 is 63. 6 and 3 is 9. Everything is fine.
Now, so that's a way to both check your work, but also to develop number sense. Is that the idea?
Perfect. You said it better than I do. That's exactly what this number pattern does, is develop number sense. Because if you have a 9-year-old kid in your car and you're driving down the road and you see a speed limit sign that says 30, that student should be able to say, okay, 30. 3 plus 0 is 3. That's an easy part, right? The next step is they have to plug it in. 30 minus 3. They got to be able to subtract a little bit like that. When they get to 27, the answer, then they have to recognize that 2 and 7 is 9. So if you sequentialize those 3 steps with every number you see on the planet Earth, it literally teaches you logic, your math facts, adding, subtracting, truly basic number sense.
Yeah. And so you differentiate that from, like you said, memorization, which is what we're often taught to do in school, both in elementary and all the way to high school, and so yeah, it's flexing those muscles essentially for kids. And it also involves estimating. You've talked about giving kids a better sense to estimate their answers on their way to the answer, so to speak.
Yeah, and you just brought up another great point, is memorization. Our students are expected to memorize all these math facts, right? So you're a second, third grader, you're 7, 8, 9 years old. You walk into school, and instead of teaching you a logical way to understand your math facts, they want you to memorize this huge table of digits, these random facts, right? Well, there's no class for these kids to teach them how to memorize large sets of data. So we're expecting them to use a skill set to learn a subject that doesn't require memory because math is logical. You don't need to memorize it. It just makes sense. It adds up. It checks out. And so that's why I think this chapter 0 would revolutionize the way we see numbers. Great questions, man. You're killing. I love this. Is great. I mean, are you good with numbers in your head?
No, honestly, I'm terrible at math. And I mean, subjects I was good at: English, history, geography. I was good at math up till grade 9 or so. And then I started to just sort of maybe not care, or the memorization wasn't there. I'm not sure what. But
that's what it was.
Yeah, there's definitely kids that are sort of math heads. You call it, you're a mathlete. And there's people that are not drawn to it for whatever reason. And so do you think, is that part of the initiatives you do in World Maths Day and these things that you're trying to get people more interested in it or are able to handle it better?
Totally. And, I'm the human calculator. I've been in the Guinness Book 20 years. I do numbers all the time. I do not think about 99% of mathematics ever. Mathematics is a huge field. So to think that you either are or not a math person, that's silly, because you can pick any part of math and really dive in and figure it out, especially at the lower level elementary stuff. So yeah, it feels like it's become socially accepted to be bad at math. Like right now, if we started this interview, you wouldn't start out and say, "Hey Scott, I'm illiterate. I tried to read your press kit, but it, didn't work out. Let's just see how it goes." But if you're enumerate, it's okay for you to start the interview. I don't get numbers. Don't make any sense to me. We don't even flinch. Yeah. But if you were illiterate, you'd be like, people would look at you funny, like, really? You can't read or write? So we've got to make it where it's not okay to be enumerate.
So odd question maybe, but where do you see this going in, say, 100, 1,000 years? Do you think in the future people will, because in 1,000 years in the past, literacy rates were very different as well. So do you see that changing in the far future?
No, I think it's going to happen in the very near future.
Okay.
Years ago, they didn't have the internet. Here we are. I mean, an idea can go around the world in a day instead of 1,000 years. So I believe that this chapter 0 will get out there and it'll become common sense. One day, everybody on the planet Earth will be like, no big deal. Everything goes back to 9. Got it? Good. But that's why I invented a new event called the National Counting Bee. It's like a spelling bee, but it's a counting bee. And what this does is 2 things. One, we create a stage where the fastest human calculators and mathletes can be discovered and do their thing on stage and be celebrated around the world. The second part of that initiative is to create a program to promote numeracy. So for all the students that don't feel like they could be an accounting bee, we're empowering them with this curriculum that everything's 0 through 9. And since this is episode 99 of your podcast, my number grid that I've came up with as a book is not 1 through 100. It's 00 through 99. And when you start a number grid, a 10 by 10 number grid with 00 instead of 1, all these patterns erupt off the script page that nobody had ever noticed. And that's all because all we did was count 0. And what happens is it lines up all the 10s. So 0 through 9, 10 through 19, 20 through 29, 30 through 39. All the numbers that start with the same digits are on the same rows, changes everything. And so we're going to use the counting bee as a way to promote this numeracy program, which includes a matrix of 0 to 99 and how all numbers go back to 9.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, this year you tweeted, because we had, was it the 21st day, the 21st week, the 21st year, the 21st century, right? Yes, that's crazy, eh?
How is that not a national holiday? I mean, to experience that, and I don't know if you're on Clubhouse. Yeah, Clubhouse. But I set up a room on Clubhouse for that hour. The 21st hour of the 21st day of the 21st week of the 21st year of the 21st century. I mean, on and on and on. And I think we had 7 people show up in the room. Nobody seems to care about.
Well, I tried to get in there, and I'm not sure. Maybe my Clubhouse app wasn't working. I forget what, but I tried to make it in there. But maybe the next one. Well, there may never be one. But
when's that? I was going to say, call me when we figure out that one.
So now, but speaking of this, like numerology, you mentioned numerological facts pertaining to your life, different times in your life, and different meanings that numbers have had for you in your life. A lot of people think about this a lot. Like they see the clock 11:11, or 3:33 is a big one. And how do you think about numerology? Is it just for fun, or do you think that it has some significance and meaning involved?
Yeah, it's a heavy subject. I started out with capital N numerology, which is study of yourself, where you try to make all the numbers seem like they're about you in some way, just like the horoscope uses the sky to make people feel like the sky is telling their story, not something else. Mm-hmm. Small N numerology is study of numbers in the Bible, codes, patterns, all kinds of things like that. So I delve into all those different things. I love to see what's going on. But in 99, I had a little, right before Y2K, I just had a little realization. I was like, everything is about me. Look at me. I'm the fastest human calculator. Listen to me. Watch me do my thing. And then I converted it and made it about others and how I could empower others with this superpower of mental math and computing and stuff. And I remember writing a note where I wrote I. And when you write a capital I, you got a 1, but then there's a bar on the bottom and the bar on the top. So if you're that 1, the big I, well, there's a bar on the top and a bar on the bottom. So it just goes back and forth. You're just bouncing back and forth. Me, 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 me. And so I wanted to rewire myself to be a little I. So a little I is a 1 with a 0 on top. It's a little halo. And so as soon as I rewired myself to be a little I instead of a big I, and it's something bigger than me out there, it changed my life. I started having all these revelations and patterns, found these patterns in 1999. I discovered the 9 pattern on 9/9/99 at 9 o'clock in the morning on the 18th hole playing golf with Alice Cooper. So bizarre numerical coincidences.
Is Alice Cooper into this kind of stuff? Is he into numerology and that?
No, I don't think so. He's not a numbers guy. He's a words guy. He's a wordsmith, and I connect the numbers. So yeah, it's different.
Can we circle back to a question I asked earlier? I forget if we really got into it, but the subjective feeling or perception that you experience when you're doing these super fast calculations, could you describe it in any way? Like,
yeah. When I'm doing my world record, I tune in so much that you could literally run at me full speed and tackle me, and I could still just keep spitting out numbers left and right. You can't distract me. I'm so in the zone that honestly, it almost feels like when you're doing mental math, it becomes timeless. You go into a matrix or a dimension of where time stands still. And so when I'm doing my world record and I'm going so fast that my mouth can barely keep up with my brain, and I'm having trouble almost stumbling over numbers, speaking instead of calculating. Right. I'm just totally tuned into this language of numbers, and people do it with other things. I just, happen to do it with numbers.
Yeah. Interesting.
But the sense I get is, I don't feel it. I mean, I feel it, I can feel it in my gut when I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong before you even say. You have a calculator and you're checking me, and I can say, oh, wait a second, I got one wrong there. Before you even do it, just something didn't feel right. So yeah, I'm tuned into numbers.
What about, have you ever met other people there must be other people that are fairly good at this too. Have you met anyone that's in your realm or that has a similar skill? Obviously there's other memorizing, other Guinness World Record holders that have similar skills, but anything close to sort of what you can do?
Well, at the World Championships in 2016 in Las Vegas, I was the chairman of the event, and a lady from South Korea who lives in New York Shang-Yi Lee came in and set 4 world records in 4 days at the World Championships with mental math. And I was thinking, holy cow, she's going to take down my record too, probably the one that I explained to you. And at the final day, she challenged me to my world record. And it was as close as I ever came to getting beat. She did it in Korean first, so I didn't know the number she counted by or how well she did. And then they gave me the number, but it was she challenged me to a 3-digit number. My world record is a 2-digit number. So she, instead of 38 or something, they picked 257 or something like that. And I went as fast as I could. I didn't miss a beat. I mean, I nailed it. And so did she. And I only beat her by 2 answers in 15 seconds. So I think at 26-24 or something like that. So there's people out there that can do it. Another brilliant human calculator out there is Yusnir Vieira. He's from Cuba originally, lives in Florida. Met him at the 2008 Mental Math World Championships in Germany. And that's where he started breaking the world record for figuring out calendar dates. So you can say what day, calendar date, like June 3rd, 1986, and he can tell you the answer in a third of a second. So he's got the world record for that. So yeah, there's a lot of fascinating humans out there.
Yeah, something I heard on a podcast recently was about people on the spectrum or people with dyslexia, and how we should really be looking at these things more as differently abled people rather than sort of a stigmatized, condition that they have, because a lot of these people with these various states of mind or conditions can do like really amazing things. So yeah, does that tie in at all to what we're talking about?
Yeah, just because when we had 160 of them show up in Las Vegas for 4 days to compete for the World Championships, you got all sizes and colors and from everywhere around the world. It was really fascinating. One of the people that checked in, I thought, well, it was a guy with his little daughter, 5 or 6-year-old girl. And I thought the guy was checking in for it, and he was checking his daughter in for the championships, and she broke a record the next day on the stage as a 5-year-old kid. So it's amazing who's out there. Another guy I just wanted to point out, his name is Jerry Newport. I never met him until I was at the 2008 World Championships, and he came over and introduced himself. And it turns out that him and I were born 5 miles apart in upstate New York. I'm in Herkimer, and he was born in Little Falls, which is 5 miles away. And the odds of that were pretty crazy. And he was actually an amazing human calculator.
Wow. What about like when you see the Rubiks Cube competitions, and are these things still amazing, even though you're such an amazing guy? Like, do you still get amazed like the rest of us at these various skills that people have? Like, and even solving a Rubiks Cube, does that have anything to do with spatial awareness in your brain and that,
Totally. I used to do the Rubik's Cube for fun. It was great because once you get into the pattern, you can sort of just tune in and it just happens. So, hey, there you are.
Not solved though. I'm still learning. I don't really.
Oh, it's so cool. And here's what's amazing is I was at an event where they had a kid that could do it in under 5 seconds.
Yeah. There's a great Netflix documentary about some of the champions.
Wow. And behind their back, they can, then there was one kid who took 3 Rubik's Cubes, looked at them, and then started juggling and solved all 3 of them while he was juggling.
That's insane. I think, it's crazy about humans too, is that we always have to top each other. So every year, it's just in every field, every record gets broken, or, like people are just always striving to kick the butts of the people before them.
Hallelujah. The perfect example is the 4-minute mile with Mr. Bannister, because before he ran a 4-minute mile, nobody thought you could run it. And now it happens every day all over the world. So it's a mindset, and humans are pushing each other. And now that we know who's out there and what they're doing because of the internet, it's easier to motivate yourself. I didn't know about mental calculation World Cup or any of these mental calculation things, and I never practiced. Some of these kids have been practicing 8 hours a day for 10 years, going for world records. So I love it. I think it's awesome. Every year, the National Counting Bee is going to be in each country in the world, just like a spelling bee, but you can't do a spelling bee in most countries because they don't speak English. A counting bee works in every country. True. And then at the end of each year, we'll have an international counting bee to bring the top 10 students from each age group together and recognize them. So it's a dream come true to have a gift for numbers, but more importantly, to figure out a way to help promote numeracy and celebrate others that do this stuff.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but academically speaking, you didn't finish. Is it high school, or you didn't go to college, or
I didn't finish anything.
you didn't finish? Right.
Yeah, I had a little personality conflict with my high school English teacher, so he gave me a 69 on my final, and I didn't get my high school diploma. I went in the Air Force for 6 years and didn't last there either. It was just a challenging environment, and got out and started doing this as the human calculator after that, and having control of my life and not having to work for somebody. And I'm just an independent spirit.
Well, I was going to say it's got to be very rewarding and sort of, very freeing to be able to sort of go all over the place and talk to so many people. And you've got so much to say, and you can really blow people's minds in the span of, 30 seconds if you wanted to. So it's a pretty cool skill to have.
Yeah, it is. The funny part is I was at a teacher workshop with about 250 teachers, and I did an hour. I started with a demonstration, just basic stuff. Then I did my world record. Then I got into teaching the 9 pattern and these other theories that I've come up with for mental math and how to better teach it. And the first question, one of the people got up and said, "Hey, I'm sorry I walked in late. Could you mention which college you went to, what your major was, and what your business was on?" Stuff like that. And I go, "Well, actually, I'm a high school dropout." And I got a standing ovation because for the past hour, these teachers stood there and listened to everything I said and were blown away by what I was doing. But if I'd started the show by saying, "Hey, I'm a high school dropout, I hope you'll still listen to me about how I feel
Right.
about numbers," it ain't going to happen.
Right. Now, so speaking more about education and a topic of interest to me is education reform. Now, I don't have any great plans or big ideas for this really, but a teacher of mine starts democratic schools in various countries. He taught at Summerhill in the UK. I don't know if you're familiar with that school. There's a documentary about it. They had some legal disputes with the Tony Blair administration because it was the school that was sort of seen as almost a communist school, but essentially they let the kids do whatever they want, and they formed their own little committees, and they would vote on different initiatives. And so everything that you learned in class, the kids got to vote on whether you had to learn it or not. So when I was in grade 6, this teacher of mine employed some of those tactics into our school here in Ontario, Canada. And it really blew my mind as a kid that they would, like, a teacher would allow the kids to have so much freedom over what they learned. So it's always been interesting to me, but I see a lot of in America, a lot of my peers, we go through the school system and then we have so many complaints about how it went. And maybe some of that is our own failings that we're just blaming the system or whatever it is. But is there anything that comes to mind for you about things that maybe over time need to change in school systems?
Yeah, that's a great example. I love that story too. I hadn't heard about that. Yeah, it's scaring me a little bit because we've got laptops and computers and electric screen or video screens and Zoom and all these technologies, all this access to the best teachers in the world, and our grades are still just flattening. I mean, this should be an incredible revolution of amazing ability to educate yourself and be in environments that are what you're looking for. So we have to reinvent school, but I think more importantly, we have to reinvent or have an attitude adjustment, because if students want to learn and they're put in an environment where they can learn, well, there's zero excuses why they can't learn. So we're missing something before that. And I think it comes down to kids just not wanting to learn, or families not creating a environment that inspires them to be a good learner. But I think we need to change our attitude more than anything.
It's a good point. There is it's a multifaceted problem. Obviously, there's another problem in social circles. People think it's not cool to be smart or not cool to learn. I think that's changed over a couple decades as well, a little bit. But being a nerd is seen as cool now and that kind of thing. But
yeah, the nerds rule the world now. So come on, that's been dismissed too. But if you can ever figure that out, please explain it to me. That how do we have all the technology in the world, access to the smartest people in the world, and we're still flatlining on education reform?
It's a really good question. I will let you know whenever I figure that out. So, Scott, we've learned so much today, and sort of in closing, can you tell us what should people be paying attention as far as events coming up, and then also where can they find more about you online?
Well, thanks for asking. My website's thehumancalculator.com. And the event, I just want to remind everybody, is the National Counting Bee. We're doing the first one in America. So the USA National Counting Bee is November 9th, 2021. It's a free contest, free to register, free to sign up, free to practice, free to do it. Everything's free. So there's no excuses why we can't get tons of schools to get involved and help us find their fastest human calculators and give those kids a chance to get on this stage to be celebrated as the fastest mathlete or fastest human calculator.
100%. Scott, thanks again so much. It was really nice to meet you virtually, and all the best, man.
Hey, thanks. Great job. I'm following you on everything. I can't wait to see what you come up with, man. And good luck. And just thanks for including me on number 99.
Awesome. No problem, man. Take care.